Right, okay, the next question is question 4. Write a function that will, given a list, find the index of the largest value in the list. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say our list looks something like 4, 3, 2, 7, 5, 2, 3. Then the index is going to be where the position where this one is, because 7 is the biggest number. So it will produce 0, 1, 2, 3. The answer would be 3, because the index of the largest value is 3. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so let's write a function. So def get index of largest value, say, and some list here called a list. What we're going to go do is find out which is the biggest, and each time we work out which is the biggest, much like we did in the previous video for finding the largest value, not only are we going to set what the largest value is, but we're also going to set what the index was. So we're going to do a similar thing here. If the length of the list was 0, in other words, there's nothing in the list, we're going to return -1 as the index. That's what it says that we should do. Returning -1 if the item is not in the list. So if it's an empty list, that's what this says, empty list, then we're obviously going to have nothing found, and nothing found means -1. That's what it says in the question. Not found. Okay. Else, now this is assuming that the list is not empty now. So we could just put a comment in, list is not empty. We're going to go through each value and work out which is the largest. So we're going to start off by looking what our largest is at the moment. So our largest value is going to be the first one in the list, or the 0th one in the list, should we say. So a list 0. And now we're going to go through all the other items. So starting at 1. So we're going to go for I in range from 1 to the length of the list, and for each one of those we're going to figure out which is whether or not the index, the value in that index, is larger. So we're going to say if a list I, the one that we're looking at, is bigger than the one that we think it is, largest, then in which case we're going to set the largest to be equal to a list I. That's not the whole story. The whole story is that we want to return the index. So we're going to have another thing called largest index, and we're going to set it to be -1 to start with. So default by default. This is the default value being -1. And if we do have this largest value, then we're going to set our index to be the value that we're looking at, or the position that we're looking at, which is I. So our largest index is going to become equal to I. Okay, and then we're going to return our largest index. Okay, so if there's no items in the list, it returns -1. Otherwise, it's going to go through the list one by one, figuring out whether each successively whether that one's bigger than the previous largest that it's found, setting that value, and then in the end it's going to return the largest index that it found. Let's just test that. So let's say we've got a list here called L, and we've got numbers 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 7, 8, 4. The largest index is here, so that's index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's index 6. So let's see whether it worked. Print. We're going to print the get index of largest value of L, and we're expecting it to give us 6. Let's run that, and there it is, 6. And if I change that 7 there to a 2, the largest value will now be this 8, and that's going to be index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again. So we run that, and it is indeed 6. Okay, next question. This question says, write a Python function that will, given a list, calculate and return the average value of the values in the list. So how would you do that normally? So if you've got a list of numbers, L equals, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, doesn't matter that they're in order. How would you find the average? Well, you'd go along and you'd calculate what the sum of all of these values are, and then you divide by how many values that there are. That's how you calculate the mean average, right? Add them all up, divide by how many numbers there are. So how are we going to add them up? Well, let's create a function to add them up. So we're going to say def get total from list and a list, and it's going to go through each element and add them up to some running total. So let's have a look. The total, let's assume to be 0 to start with, and we're going to go for element in a list. So for each element that's in the list, we're going to add that to the total. So total is assigned to the total, what it was before, plus the value of the element. I'm going to return the total value at the end. And now for our average function, def get average from list and a list. So here we're going to add them all up, and that's the get total from list. So we're going to return the get total from list of this list, and we're going to divide by how many elements are in the list. Well, the number of elements in the list is the length of the list. Okay, so hopefully that will work now. So let's take our list L, let's put that down here, and I am now going to say print get average from list of L. Let's see what we get. Let's see what the value actually is. It's 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10, 15, 21, 28, 36 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 36 divided by 8. What's that? 36 divided by 8. 36 divided by 8. We're expecting a value of 4.5. So let's see what we get. 4.5. Excellent. Next question. Write a Python function that will use linear search to decide if search item is in a list A list and return true or false accordingly. Okay, so this is a linear search. So let's get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. Def linear search, and we're going to search whether or not the search item, this search item, is in this list. Okay, and we're going to assume, well, how would we do that normally? All right, so let's say we do have a list L equals 1, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. And let's say, oh, how do I decide if the number 7 is in this list? Well, our human eyes are drawn directly to this 7 here, and we can do that easily. But a computer would need to go, is this a 7? Is this the 7 that we're looking for? No, 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 no. Yes, then it would find it. So it needs to go through in order and try and find them. And we start off by assuming that it's not in the list. That's what a human would do, right? Imagine this list was really, really long, and we're asking to search for a certain value. We'd start off by saying to ourselves, right, okay, I'm assuming it's not in the list. And we go along and keep finding the one that we look for. And when we found it, we go, ah, there it is in the list. And we say true. If not, we keep going right to the end. Oh, I never spotted it. It wasn't there. So the answer must be false. So that's what we're going to do. Let's move that down there for a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that we haven't found the item, and we're going to go through the list. So we're going to go through the list now. So for element in a list, that's going to have a for loop where each time element is going to be first this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, etc. And we're going to say if element is what we're looking for, which is the search item, we're going to return true, because we don't need to look anymore. We found it. No point going through them all. We'll just stop now and return true. But if we get to the end, then we haven't done a return true, so we're going to say return false. So basically, if we get here without returning beforehand, then we know it was not found. The search item was not found. Whereas here, we have found the item. List. Okay. That's it. So we've already got a list down here, L. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the result of linear search, finding the search item, let's say 2, in the list L. And you can see quickly it's not in there. So this is going to print false. And there we go, false. Well, let's try now printing something that is in the list, a 7, and that should return true. And it does. And that's all those questions. We'll come to solutions to these pink ones another time.